Yo, what is up, guys? So today I'm going to be going back to one of my older type of styled videos where I'm just going to talk. I'm not going to add anything. I'm not going to cut out my thoughts. I'm just going to give it to you straight, and I'm just going to give you my opinion on the subject. If you guys have any other topics you want to bring up, please feel free to drop them in the comments or DM me on Discord. I'd love to make more of these videos because they're super easy and they get the point across. So today I'm going to be diving into, is Ward, Ward talents unbalanced in PvP? So really all of this boils down to, in an ideal game, to the Rochambeau Wheel, which I'm going to put on the screen right here. So as you can see, the way this works is, as you can see in the diagram, Storm, the direct counters fire, fire direct counters ice, and then ice direct counters storm. And this can be seen in the Rochambeaus. So like you have fire Rochambeaus that will turn things into damage overtimes, and then you'll have storm Rochambeaus that'll turn those overtimes into blades, and then you'll have ice Rochambeaus that'll turn, the blades into traps, and then you'll have fire Rochambeaus that turn the traps into overtimes, stuff like that. So all of the Rochambeaus counter each other, and the same thing works with the spirit schools on the inside. And then you have balance, which is neutral, which is supposed to soft counter everything. There's no hard countering for balance. It just soft counters everything, and you can play around that. And that is why the pin system also follows along with this as well. So as you can see, balance has pins to everything. Ice has a pin direct to its direct counter school that it counters, just storm. Storm has fire, fire has ice. So every school has pins to the school that they counter, and then one school on the other side of the wheel. So, an elemental school will have a spirit pen, something like that. So that is how it works for those who do not know. But the whole idea of the system is, you counter a school. So, for example, ice gets hard countered by fire. So the only ward talent, realistically, in a perfect game that ice should need to run is fire. But right now, that's just currently not how it is. Ice counters storm, and then the natural resist that ice has should be enough to cover every other school, except for the school that hard counters them, meaning they need to ward fire. But damage is so overtuned in this game right now that you're seeing pretty much every single school, including life, including balance, warding to storm. And the reason that is because with how Betrayal works right now, which is a myth Rochambeau, by the way, but every school can train it. As you can see, I have it on my life here. If a storm gets one main deck Betrayal and then maybe one side deck Betrayal, because these are two different traps, for those who do not know, main and side deck Rochambeaus do stack. So you get those two on, you win a bubble maybe, you're looking at someone with 180 damage, 3 buffs, and 50 pierce that can just hit into your shield. I watched a triple buff Storm Chat today do like 6k. And this is someone who's shielding, and they're playing defensively to a degree, and they're just getting hit through shields. So you're seeing every single storm hit, just hit through shields, and then they complain when someone's warded. And as you guys, I'm not, without mentioning names, but everyone knows who I'm talking about. We're seeing a lot of people, a lot of storm mains complaining because everyone's warding against them. And their solution that they're bringing up is, well, maybe we should just take ward out. Well, the only reason that schools are warding to schools that do not directly counter them is because of how OP the school is. You saw this back in, the last seasons before when Death had the Doom Oni, everyone was warding to Death because of how strong Death was. And even school, as you can see on the wheel, even though Death only realistically counters life, you saw every school warding to Death because you had to, or you just got 1-2-shotted by this Doom Owl, which is what it was, coined. So that's always been the main driving force behind what wards to use. Before, in the legacy system, ice countered, I think it was fire countered ice, and they direct countered each other, so maybe they'd ward to each other. Storm countered myth countered storm. So, just like how PvE bosses work. So you'd see schools warding to the schools that countered them directly. But now, with how different everything is now, you really don't need to do that because these schools get Rochambeau countered. These are not damage counters. As you know, PvP does not have any damage reduction based on what school you're hitting. It's just purely stat based. So technically, an ice can direct counter storm, but depending on what Rochambeau's the storm carries, they might not. It's all Rochambeau based now. It has nothing to do with, damage or linear stats. It's all Rochambeau, and any school can carry any school Rochambeau. And now that they're turning things into chromatic, you kind of get, a buff from doing this. Like, as you know, like Betrayal and Delusion right now is a myth Rochambeau, but every single school, except for maybe Balance, carries that because you have to. It's so strong. And you're seeing this on the boards. Like, schools that, and now with how like the triangle sockets are, you're seeing everyone running, other school accuracy and stuff like that, which is forcing other people to play into other schools. So you don't have to run sniper on pets, you don't have to run D-Lance, which, is one thing, but then you get into a meta where everyone is just triple warding. So like there's no reason that I shouldn't just go into queue with 3 wards on pretty much every school. Now some schools, if you want to use the extra bubble socket, you might run accuracy, but you can pretty much triple ward on every single school if you want. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. And you're seeing that, a lot of people are not like Liam, which I don't even know what happened to him. Where did he go? He was up at 1970. He's all the way down. Okay, he lost 120 rank today. But I'm not gonna ask questions. But these two people are PvP banned right now. He's PvP banned. The queue is dying because no one's enjoying how high and fast paced damage is right now. And ward is simply something that people are using to mitigate that damage. We're looking at the wrong problems here. People are warding because damage is too high. It's like you're gonna try to nerf the solution to the actual problem, which is there's effectively no damage cap because pretty much every single school, if I have someone on my friends list I can show you, but yeah, so pretty much every single school can run upwards to near the damage cap. Ice is a little bit on the lower end. I guess no one's really on right now because it's kind of a dead time, but you guys know my point. Pretty much every school hits around 170 damage, no matter what it is. Some go higher, Fire and Storm get about 190, just involuntarily. You don't even have to run dealer at that point. So the damage cap that's in the game isn't really in the game because it's not really affecting anyone's damage. So I'm not sure why, where we went wrong before when what the meta was last season was, people were running Aeon pieces, but they're also running Eternal just for the pip chance. So, the damage was toned down a little bit. Really, for most part, most of the Aeon gear and this last gear on it didn't really get changed on damage. Now, some of it did. Some of it got buffed a little bit, slightly nerfed on some pieces, and they just added pip chance. The only reason now is no one needs to run Eternal gear because you get perfect pips by running Aeon. They also buffed the resist. So now I have the same resist as I had running Eternal, but I have 15 more damage. And this is just on Life. Life is an offensive school. I'm not supposed to have crazy damage on Life. But in this meta, with how everything is, you kind of have to. You have to run high damage, which is not something people are enjoying. And in a meta where high damage is key, the idea would be to just ward. Ward to the schools that hard counter you, like Storm, for example, for Life. And on most schools, you get two-shotted by Storms, except for maybe Ice. So maybe Ice doesn't have to run it. But yeah, so we're seeing a lot of issues with how overtoned damage is. And people are looking at the wrong problems to solve. What we truly need is one of two things. Either revert the pips so people have to run Eternal gear, which will naturally bring the damage down, or, add a curve to Pierce. Why is Pierce the only linear stat that's not getting curved? Every other stat, damage, resist, outgoing got nerfed because now you have to run pens. These are all getting curved. So the higher it goes, it's not linear, except for Pierce. Pierce is the only thing that doesn't really get affected, even though it's showing at the bottom that there is, some effective curve at some point. There's not. I've seen, myths are running 61 Pierce, so it kind of doesn't matter how much resist you have, because myths are just hitting through. So what happens when every school has 60 Pierce? Then ward is effectively gone anyway. What's the point? If you tower, you get hit through because they pierce through the entire tower and, half your resist. It's ridiculous. So what we really need to see is a couple of things. Well, one, we heard that there was going to be a nerf on Betrayal and Delusion, and that was 2-3 weeks ago, and we've yet to see that. Multiple maintenance windows have passed. Not only is KI lazy enough to only have one maintenance window a week, which is already kind of bullshit, but they're not even filling the maintenance. The game is terrible. The players are very vocal about how unfun PvP is right now, and they're not doing anything to change it. And I don't understand that truthfully. Most of the time, Q is extremely dead to where you're seeing, 2 or 3 matches, even in the middle of the day. It could be 4 p.m. and you might have 0 matches going on for max PvP compared to how it was 2 years ago when there was, 50 games going on at some points. I saw points back and forth age where there was 120 people in queue, and now you'd be lucky to see 120 different people on the game in a week doing PvP. I don't even think that ever happens. If you guys disagree with that, feel free to share that in the comments, but it's just kind of how it is right now. and they're very vocal about it. Your two biggest streamers, which, you know, some people will argue have a little bit of, you know, leeway over into the devs, your two biggest streamers are very vocal about how they also hate the game right now too. So why they're not so rampant to fix it, I don't understand. I truthfully do not understand. So yeah, you know, that's kind of all I can say about it, because even I'm not playing I'm not playing PvP right now. I genuinely have no desire to want to play this meta because it's not rewarding. You know, not only is the elo system terrible, because it is. If I lose one match, I'll lose, you know, a day's worth of wins, which is stupid. But all it takes is, you know, one 1600 rank Storm to betrayal me twice and I lose, because they can just hit me through my shields. If I don't shield, I die, and if I shield, I get hit through. And that's not a meta that I want to play in. It's not something I'm going to support. And y'all can say, oh, it's scared, he's scared, is whatever. But I'm not going to play something I don't enjoy. You know, unlike most of the people on in this community, this game does not have a leeway over me like that anymore. I can not play it and be perfectly fine. I don't need to play PvP to have any sort of, you know, enjoyment in my life. And hopefully a lot of people get to that point, because I don't understand how there's still people playing this game with how shit the meta is right now. And it's just kind of how it is, you know. So I'm not trying to, you know, shit on anyone directly, but the devs clearly don't care, because it has been way too many times where the community themselves have complained about bad updates, and it has taken them way too long to even conjure up a fix, and half the time the fixes don't even come to life, and we don't see them in fruition. We just have something new to complain about, you know. A month and a half ago or 2 months ago, you know, the same thing happened. They nerfed shields down and Storms got a pierce buff, and then Storms were just hitting the shields. Everyone complained. That went on for 3 weeks until, you know, Sauce himself was even like, I'm not playing this anymore, and they nerfed it. And then, you know, we got this new gear audit. We got in that same audit where they nerfed the Storm Pierce, they fucked up Colossus, and then we had the Colossus with the 65 trap going first for 2 months, and now there's this. So, you know, what's next? You could say, do I even really want them to fix it? Do I want to just have a meta where everyone's two-shotting? Or do I want to just, you know, move on and see what's fucked up the next time? You know, probably next time we're just going to have it to where, you know, if you bubble, the game glitches and it ends, and the first person who bubbles wins the game. I wouldn't be shocked. At this point, nothing would surprise me with how incompetent the devs are. And again, I've said this in previous videos, you know, you can only expect so much out of devs who don't play their own game. And that's just, at the end of the day, it just boils down to that. So, you know, to cap off this video topic, is Ward a problem in PvP? Me, personally, I don't think so. I think if you think that Ward is a problem, you are looking at the wrong thing for the solution of the game. The only reason why people are warding outside of the Rochambeau Wheel is because schools are overtuned and doing too much damage. So if you guys have anything else you'd like to add, please feel free to drop it in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video.